Hi, I'm Susie Garden, and this is the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm an age-defying naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I'm here to bust myths around women's health and aging so that you can be ageless and awesome in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The Ageless and Awesome podcast is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with great health, a positive mindset, and outrageous confidence. Hit subscribe or follow now, and let's get started. Hello, gorgeous one, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit croaky this morning. I have had the worst hay fever over the weekend. I'm recording this on Monday morning, and yeah, hopefully I can make it through. So today is the fourth podcast in my weight loss series, and today what I am focusing on is what is blocking your weight loss. So the thing is, when you are looking specifically at losing weight and you are looking at what, obviously food is really important, but sometimes I get people that are coming to me and they're going, I have actually a really good way of eating. I feel like I'm doing all of the right things, but I'm still can't lose weight. There are many, many other things that can influence your weight loss, and some of them might be kind of surprising. So I'm going to go through about 7 surprising factors that can influence your weight loss that are not necessarily all about food. Something I say a lot to the women I work with for weight loss is, it's not your fault. There are so many hidden blockers to weight loss, and if these aren't addressed, it can make it really difficult to, maintain a healthy weight for a start and lose weight if that's your goal. And the other reason I say often that it's not your fault is just because of the amount of confusion there is in the interwebs, I guess, at the supermarket when you're looking at food and you're seeing things like, healthy ticks and things like that. Some of it can be quite confusing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these weight loss blockers today to help remove some of the confusion. So the first one, you may have heard of this, and it is a lack of sleep. And this is kind of ironic because a lot of the women that I'm working with are over 35 or over 40 and they're in perimenopausal kind of phase. And one of the first things that happens to many, many women in perimenopause is their sleep just goes out the window. And that has absolutely been my experience. And, you might be surprised, or maybe you're not, maybe you've heard this before, that the amount and the quality of sleep you get can have a profound impact on your weight loss efforts. And it's not just because you're getting up in the middle of the night and having a snack. I think we all used to think that was the reason, is that people that were having sleep issues often would get up in the middle of the night and have a snack. And I used to do this all of the time because I would wake, around 2 or 3 o'clock, I would feel hungry. This is when I was in corporate life and I was, running on adrenaline and cortisol. So I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be hungry and I'd eat something and then I'd go back to sleep. So that became a bit of a thing. In the middle of the night, I'd be getting up and making a piece of toast. Of course, there were always things that were not high in protein, which is a bit of an issue. But yeah, so you kind of think, well, of course, if you're not sleeping and you're having a snack during the night, then you're going to put on weight or you're going to not be able to lose weight. But what we know is actually that's not the reason. Sleep, it's actually a lot more complex than that. Sleep is when your body repairs and regenerates itself, and it plays a crucial role in regulating hormones that control hunger and appetite. So super important. When you don't get enough sleep, there's a hormone called ghrelin. That's Grelin, ghrelin, which stimulates appetite. And this hormone can increase when you don't get enough sleep. And then there is another hormone called leptin, which signals fullness, and that can decrease when you don't have enough sleep. So this kind of hormonal imbalance can lead to overeating and weight gain because you're feeling hungry You're getting that ghrelin increase, which is stimulating your hunger, and then leptin is decreasing, and that means that you're not feeling full. You're not getting the signal to your brain that you're full. So it's a bit of a problem. And this can happen not only because of lack of sleep, that hormonal balance can also happen if you're carrying a lot of weight around the torso kind of area. You can get this switch in the signaling. It's a real issue. And again, it's not your fault. It's your hormones. And the other thing about sleep deprivation or insomnia, even one night of not sleeping well really makes you feel pretty rubbish, and it can affect your willpower and your decision-making abilities. It can make it harder to resist unhealthy food cravings. And often we will, crave those foods that are going to give us an energy hit when you're feeling sleep deprived. The energy's down, so you think, well, you just go for carbs, and that is going to throw off your blood sugar, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And it just becomes this vicious circle. So if you want to really do well with your weight loss, you need to prioritize getting 7 to 9 hours. Seems like a lot, doesn't it? 7 to 9. Ideally, I think it's 7.7 is considered ideal number of hours for sleep. That's what you should be aiming for. So prioritizing sleep as part of your weight loss protocol is really what you should be thinking about. All right, so lack of sleep, number 1. Number 2, this is going to be no surprise because I talk about this all of the time. Stress management. So stress and cortisol. So chronic stress can be a hidden culprit behind weight gain, really huge culprit in this day and age, and the struggle to lose weight. Because when you're stressed, the body releases another hormone called cortisol, which can lead to increased appetite, particularly for sugary and fatty foods. And cortisol also encourages the storage of fat, especially around the abdominal area, and that's linked to increased cardiovascular risk, increased diabetes risk, all of the things. So this is kind of, in a way, an easy one to combat because it's all about managing stress, right? Like you can't necessarily get out of the stressful situation, but learning to regulate your own nervous system so that you're keeping that baseline level of cortisol down is something that each of us has control over. And it's things like deep breathing, meditation, if that's your jam. Doesn't have to be for long periods of time. Yoga, dancing, any movement that makes you happy and joyful. Any activity really that makes you happy and joyful. These sort of practices that lower stress will help lower those cortisol levels and improve your overall well-being and help you to get unstuck on your weight loss journey. That's why it's a big part of what I do in the GLOW protocol. Number 3 in terms of weight loss blockers is some medications. Now, certain medications may come with weight gain as a side effect, making it difficult for individuals to lose weight. And examples of some of those meds are antidepressants, antipsychotics, corticosteroids, for the reason I just mentioned. They're known for their potential to cause weight gain. And so if this is you, please do not despair, because you can absolutely lose weight with the right personalized plan, and the right foods, the right meal timing, all the rest of it, because we lower inflammation in the body and we can work around what's going on in your body with those medications. So absolutely don't stop taking those medications for that reason unless you're discussing that with your medical practitioner. Because sometimes, particularly when there is a very significant weight gain with medication, sometimes you do, if there was a strong family history of cardiovascular problems, then maybe that's a risk benefit that needs to be assessed with your medical practitioner as to are there other options. other than those specific medications. There may be other options that don't have weight gain as a side effect. But I recently actually had someone through the Glow protocol that had epilepsy, and she was in the morbidly obese category, and she still was able to lose, oh my gosh, she lost over 20 kilos while on the program, even though we couldn't do anything about her medication because it was for epilepsy. There's no really any other options. But yeah, still having the right protocol will definitely work around those medications. So don't feel like, oh, well, I'm on these medications, there's nothing I can do, because that's really not the case. Now, I'm just going to go and grab a quick drink of water. I don't know if you can hear, I'm getting quite croaky. I'm just going to pop something on for you to listen to while I do that. How would you like to have increased energy, balanced hormones, glowing skin, and your ideal weight in just 3 months? Sounds awesome, right? Imagine having your very own hormone balancing and weight loss strategy totally personalized to you based on your body biochemistry to release excess weight, say goodbye to pesky perimenopause symptoms, and decrease inflammation in your body, which of course leads to decreased inflammaging. That's right, ladies, there are age-defying benefits as well. Oh, and of course, you have me at your fingertips for expert support so you never feel stuck or confused. I love supporting women on their weight loss journeys, and I've packaged up the award-winning Metabolic Balance Program with my signature hormone management system, giving you the Glow Protocol. This 12-week one-to-one coaching program is you and me, nailing down your health and weight loss goals, creating your personalized plan using your blood tests, a thorough health assessment, and your food preferences. And then we get started with me supporting you every step of the way. Even if you've tried everything, even if you have resistant weight and complex medical conditions, the power of personalized nutrition, mindset coaching, and my support is transformational and gets results. And I'm not even exaggerating, even if I do say myself. So if you're ready to embrace feeling like your younger self again, lose excess weight, manage health conditions, and regain your confidence, you can just DM me at Susie Garden Wellness or email me hello@susiegarden.com, and I'll pop a link in the show notes. All right, I'm back. And number 4 that I'm going to talk about today is hormonal imbalances. Hormones are chemicals in the body, and they play a significant role in regulating metabolism, your appetite, as we've discussed, fat storage as well, and also some of our behaviors, I guess, around food. And conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, thyroid conditions, insulin resistance can disrupt hormonal balance and make weight loss challenging. Also, just you may notice premenstrually you have increased cravings for things like chocolate, for carbs, and that's being directed by progesterone, because, progesterone's all about creating a pregnancy and rises just before our period. So it's going, come on, we don't need to eat because we're going to have a baby, even though the body's not pregnant yet. And so that is one of the other drivers around, I guess, behavior. And we may not necessarily understand that that's what's happening at that time, but it still can drive those cravings. And when I'm working with women on my Glow Protocol program, often we will increase food premenstrually just to help manage that, because the body sometimes just really needs it. I'm actually going to do a whole podcast next week on polycystic ovarian syndrome, because it's quite complex, particularly in relation to how it impacts weight. There's a number of different things and factors that goes on there. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, just be aware. If you're doing what you feel is all of the right things and your weight loss just isn't happening, or you're putting on weight, if you haven't had your thyroid checked in the last year, it's worth getting that done just to make sure that your thyroid hormone's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that is regulating your metabolism. do you have other medical conditions going on that perhaps haven't been diagnosed? So really listen to your body and what's it telling you? Are there things going on that perhaps haven't been identified yet that are impacting your ability to lose weight? Number 5 is a lack of nutrient-dense foods. So if you have a diet where you have a lot of processed foods, and that includes a lot of deliveries. I had a client last week in clinic, and looking at her food diary, it was probably 90% food delivery, which was quite astounding to me. And interestingly, since that person had done that food diary, they, I think, looked at it and went, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And they'd actually changed quite a bit of what they were doing with their food since that, because sometimes you just don't even realize how much you're eating out, having takeaway, having snacks, having packaged foods, until you sit actually and write it down and track it over, 5 days, 7 days, whatever it is. So if you haven't done that for a little while, haven't tracked your food, why not do it just for a week, just to see how many meals you're having out? Because sometimes you think in your mind, I haven't been out to dinner for a while, but how many times are you grabbing lunch at a local cafe or a takeaway shop, or are you grabbing, a bag of M&Ms or something at the servo as you're getting your petrol, or whatever it is that you're doing that you think, just a little, it's just a little thing, a little treat. These do add up over the period of a week. So if you're having a lot of processed foods, that can absolutely lead to nutrient deficiencies. That can hinder weight loss. Diet lacking in essential nutrients like vitamins and minerals, fiber, can leave you feeling unsatisfied and craving healthy foods. And if the diet is lacking in essential nutrients and the body is deficient in some things, then as I've said many times on this podcast, the body is wired to survive. So if you're like iron deficient, for example, the body's not going to want to lose weight, because it's feeling like, hang on, I don't know what's going on here. Things aren't right in my body. So to overcome this, make sure you are having a diet that's full of whole foods. So when we talk about nutrient-dense foods, we're essentially talking about fruits, veggies, whole grains, proteins, healthy fats, all that sort of good stuff. Foods that contain, high levels of nutrients and that promote feelings of fullness. And that makes it really easy to kind of avoid those high sugary, snacky type foods. Okay, number 6, we're getting very close to the end of our list. Number 6 is all about meal timing. So if you have inconsistent meal timing, that can impact your weight loss progress. If you skip meals, for example, or have irregular eating patterns, it can lead to just something as simple as overeating later in the day. But the main thing is these erratic blood sugar levels. Erratic blood sugar levels result in increased cravings for sugar and high calorie kind of foods, making it challenging to stay on track with healthy eating. If you establish a regular meal schedule with, good food, it can help stabilize your blood sugar levels and prevent excessive hunger, making it easier to eat well and promote weight loss. I don't know about you, but I know me, and I have mentioned before on the podcast that I know I'm particularly sensitive to carbs and sugar, and I tend to crave that a lot if I'm not eating well, if I haven't got my protein right, if I'm not following my own GLOW protocol and my own knowledge of nutrition. I really crave carbs, and I find it really difficult to skip a meal, and if I ever do, then I'd absolutely overcompensate later in the day. I can't even remember the last time I did that, to be honest, because I have such a connection now to eating regularly and not having snacks, so not bouncing my blood sugar. But yeah, being very consistent with your meal timing, if possible, obviously within reason. You've got to make it work with your lifestyle as well, but having that regular timing of meals is really important. And even for, I talked about fasting and intermittent fasting last week in the pod. And even if you're doing a fasting protocol, the consistency of that fast is really important. If you are choosing to eat in a certain window, then keeping that window pretty consistent is important. Like you wouldn't do, like if you're doing like a 16-8, you wouldn't 3 days a week have breakfast and lunch and then have lunch and dinner the next day, and then the next day do breakfast and lunch, and then like you wouldn't do it all over the place, because that's going to really, again, bounce your blood sugar around and make you crave foods, and usually carbs, because the body's wanting a quick energy hit. So really think about how you can get some regularity with your meal timing if you don't currently have that. That's not usually a big problem for people. I guess on saying that, when I think about it, probably about 35% of the people I see probably would skip a meal. And sometimes that comes down to time or lack of preparation or forgetting, which is a weird one for me. I could never forget to eat a meal, but anyway, but getting really focused in your work or something like that and just forgetting to eat. So yeah, that's a really important one. So now I'm on to my fifth one, and this one might be kind of surprising. And that is, there are social and environmental factors that can influence weight loss and block weight loss. And when you think about it, I guess it's not such a surprise that your social and physical environment influences your eating habits and therefore your weight loss progress. So if you're a highly social person, you have lots of social activities, often that leads to a lot of unhealthy eating. If you're in a workplace where they have birthday cakes every week, or there's always chocolate in the tea room, or those like fundraising chocolates that are in the tea room, and you're just like, I might just grab it. And they're only usually little snack things. But if you're doing that a couple of times a day, I know when I worked in an office, this is so embarrassing to me now, and I think, how could I have been so stupid? But we had assorted creams in the tea room, and every single day, because I was office based at that point, I was estate manager, every single day I would be snooping around, getting my couple of, my Delta cream and my shortbread cream for morning tea, and then I'd line up again in the afternoon. And to me, it was just like, they're just little bites, just little bites. But I was just setting myself up for this horrible blood sugar, just peak and trough every day. And I felt like rubbish. And that's why I had to keep coming down and getting them, because I just needed the sugar, because my insulin and sugar balance was terrible. And I put on a lot of weight when I was in that job. So yeah, that is something that is pretty important to be mindful of, is those little workplace treats that are in the tea room. Also family traditions. I work with a number of people from certain ethnic backgrounds, like Italians, particularly, where they have big family gatherings, often on a weekly basis, where you are just filled to the brim with pasta and creamy pastas. And when you finish your plate, then we pile it up again. And that can be quite challenging to navigate. And there's a few things that may need to happen to help you navigate that. Like, for example, for social gatherings, maybe you eat beforehand so that when you're there, you're minimizing the amount of food you consume. One of my tricks during the festive season, where there's a lot of social things going on, is to have half a green smoothie before I go out, so that I'm feeling full, I'm feeling really satisfied, and then I'm not going to eat all the canapes. So things like that can really just help you feel full, so you don't really want to eat too much, that is. Obviously you want to enjoy yourself and you want to be social, but you don't want to just be eating a lot of really high salt or high sugar or high fat, particularly trans fats, like deep fried stuff, on a really regular basis. And I know that can really happen. And even at this time of year, I'm recording this in September, where it's a lot of, end of season for many sporting events, particularly at school, or if you're in a team yourself. Yeah, and there can be a lot of social events involved with that, that can really derail your health and weight loss, if that's your goal right at the time. So it's about just
perhaps you need to, if it's a family thing, maybe you need to have a chat to some members of your family and say, look, I'm trying to improve my health right now. I'm not going to be eating this type of food, or I'm only going to have one portion. I'm not going to keep filling up my plate. Please don't do that. And I know that can be a tough conversation sometimes, particularly where if in your culture food is associated with love, which is a lot of family type of focuses, then that can be difficult. But generally speaking, people will be supportive. But it's just about planning ahead, thinking about how am I going to navigate this, and then implementing that plan. So just to recap, my 7, surprising weight loss blockers. Firstly, lack of sleep. So if sleep is an issue for you, please address that, because that really is going to impact your weight quite significantly. Stress. I'll say no more because I bang on about it all the time. Stress. Certain medications. I'll say no more about that. Hormone imbalances. A lack of nutrient-dense foods in your diet. Inconsistent meal timing, and social and environmental factors. So I think that's all I want to say about this. I'd love to get your feedback. Are these some of the factors that you perhaps haven't thought of? Are these surprising to you? Please feel free to DM me at Susie Garden Wellness on Instagram or Facebook, or through the podcast app you're using, if that allows you to interact with me. I know Spotify definitely does. Then I would love to hear from you. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you on Thursday for Q&A.
Thanks so much for joining me today on the Ageless and Awesome podcast. If you liked today's episode, please make sure you click the little plus button if you're on Apple Podcasts, or the follow button if you're on Spotify, so that you can get each new episode delivered to you every single week. If you like free stuff, and who doesn't, then head over to susiegarden.com and grab my 8 essential age-defying secrets every woman over 40 should know right now. Or if you'd like to continue the discussion, head over to Instagram and DM me at Susie Garden Wellness. I'd love to connect with you.